Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Crazy B Tenant, and it says, a friend of mine broke into my house, put her stuff at random places to make it look like she's been a tenant. Cops arrive, finds her stuff all over the place, and so of course they won't remove her. What do I do now? And this came from the legal advice subreddit, by the way. And it starts, I have a friend who called me last night asking for a place to stay. I politely told her no. She's 25, I'm 19, and I should mention she's a narcissistic bitch. Today, I was over at my cousin's place this morning, and when I came home a couple of hours ago, I found this bitch inside my house. No signs of a break-in from the outside. I asked her how she got in, and she tells me through the back window. I tell her I never gave you permission to come here, and that she needs to leave immediately. And she says, deal with it. I call the cops and tell them that there's a person who's got inside my house without my permission, and that I need an officer to come over and remove her. A couple of minutes later, they arrive, and here's what happens. She tells them, I know my rights officers. I've been a legal tenant in this house for 2 months now, and you can't just remove me. I can go around and show you my clothes in the wardrobe, my toothbrush and my conditioner in the bathroom, and all my other stuff. I take a walk with her, and all her fucking stuff is all over my house. She broke into my house, puts her stuff all over so that the cops would think she's been a tenant. The next thing they tell me is that I have to serve her with an eviction notice and that they can't legally remove her since she's considered a tenant. I didn't even know what to tell them as I felt so dumbfounded and shocked. I was set up like this. I was silent for a few seconds, and so they tried to explain how the law works to me, but since I just kept looking at them in silence, not believing myself, they just proceed to leave. I'm so fucking pissed. I'm in California, so I can't even record her confessing to what she's done. If I can do that under an exception, I could easily do it because apparently she has no problem admitting to it when the cops aren't here. I'm not, however, going to do so if it'll lead to more problems. I've also thought about calling 911 or the non-emergency line and telling the operator about the situation, so that the call would be recorded and then make my friend confess about it. Can I do that? Me and the operator are aware of the call being recorded. I think it would be unlawful. How do I get this bitch out without having to serve her an eviction notice? Isn't that against the law what she did there? Isn't this fraud? I've thought about trying to prove that she's been living somewhere else before, but I don't know what to do. This is fucked up. I'm really sorry about my language, but I'm really feeling so angry, and I'm trying to be as calm as much as I can while she's in my fucking house using my stuff and I can't do shit about it. Thanks. The Patman says, quoting me and the operator are aware of the call being recorded. I think it would be unlawful, and then says yeah, because the person being recorded doesn't consent, and then quotes, how do I get this bitch out without having to serve her an eviction notice, and then says, if the police won't take action, eviction is all you have. Opie says, even if I found a way to prove she wasn't living here, so what now? I can go to any of my friend's house and put my stuff there and basically live for free. If I eventually get proof she faked this, what can I do at that point? The Patman replies, quoting, even if I found a way to prove she wasn't living here, then says it's difficult to prove a negative, especially given that she didn't have another place to stay. Still, if you believe you have that evidence, you can try the police again. But if the police don't do anything, eviction is your only option. Opie says so basically anyone can go break in anywhere at a friend's house and this would work. This is ridiculous. The Patman replies again saying tenants are given broad protection against being kicked out. This is a good thing. In your case, you have a situation where someone isn't a tenant but looks exactly like a tenant. That sucks, but it's an edge case, a one-off. It just doesn't happen that often. So yeah, in the extreme rare circumstance that someone breaks into your home with no damage and scatters enough stuff around to look like a tenant, you get a little boned. It sucks, but the worst thing you can do is compound it by trying to kick her out without the eviction. Marzi D says, I'm going to go in a completely different direction and suggest you get a protection order. This woman is dangerous and completely out of touch with reality. If I were you, I'd be very, very scared. Go down to the court and fill out an order for temporary protection. The form will ask you if you two live in the same home. Say no. Put in her last known address. You should get her ordered to stay away from you, and she will not be able to enter the apartment, as it will be breaking the order. If you need to call the police, you can call and tell them you have an order of protection against this person, and they will make her leave. You do not want a residence exclusion order, which requires actual violence. You want a stay away order. That is absolute madness. The fact that someone can literally break into your house, scatter their belongings around, and suddenly the police treat them as a legal tenant. It's just insane. I get the reasoning behind like tenant protections, etc., but it just seems like such an obvious exploitation of the system that it's just madness. However, this did remind me of a situation when I was younger. This triggered a story in me when I was younger. And there's a wee bit of violence within this one, so if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so, all that good stuff. And this is not something I'm saying that OP should have done, etc. It's literally just something that happened around the area that I lived in. As always, if you're new here, I grew up on a council estate. Loads of random stuff happening all the time. This was just the council estate I lived on. You know, other people always explain in the comments that theirs was nothing like that, etc. Of course. This is just where I grew up and one of the stories that happened. And because I actually saw something similar happen where I grew up. There was a bloke, let's call him Frank, who had a cousin who just randomly turned up to his flat one day, just walked in, made himself at home, and refused to leave. He was a little bit bigger than Frank, to be fair, and apparently they weren't on great terms, but just refused to leave. Frank tried calling the police multiple times. They'd show up as they did round our area. The cousin would just disappear for a bit, then just come straight back once the police was gone, and the police would eventually, almost like they was fed up and just delay coming, etc., etc. The police kept doing absolutely nothing about it. Same story every time. As I mentioned before, around the area we lived, we had a lot of people who just, you know, rough and ready is the only way I can explain it. You piss them off, they act first, talk later. And eventually, one of the neighborhood folks had heard about what Frank was going through. Frank was a nice guy, people liked him around the area, and they had enough of watching Frank deal with this absolute nonsense. So went in there, gave the cousin a few slaps, and physically dragged him out the flat. A couple more slaps for good measure, and that was that. Never saw the cousin again, and Frank was absolutely chuffed to bits, of course. Now again, obviously, I'm not suggesting anyone follow that particular approach. Could get you in big trouble. Different times, different rules and all that. But after this is said and done, I wonder if the protection order that one of the commenters was mentioning will actually work. As I say, I don't know nothing about the legal stuff in this. Because how do you live with someone who's just moved in like that and has that kind of attitude? That is like it's a pretty scary situation, right? OP comes in with a first update and says, I texted one of her friends on Instagram who I know is close to and explained what happened. She gave me her boyfriend's name on Facebook and told me to talk to him to see if he could come over and persuade her to leave. I've reached him and we got on the phone a few minutes ago. He said he can come over after work and see what he can do. Is there anything I should do before he comes here? Do I start recording video? Do I call the cops instead? Do I bring in a third witness? I'm really afraid if this ever turns into domestic violence of some sort, if any of them decides to do anything stupid. Keep in mind I'm 19 and both of them are well over my age by a lot. Commenter says to OP, it's time to call in a friend. A close one. I propose your mum actually. Middle-aged women often have a magical violence de-escalating effect on unknown quantities. The point is, someone calm, very calm. You don't need another voice here. You need a witness. If all goes well, I would suggest you lock the door behind her and this time lock your window. The problem with that, of course, is the cops have already decided she lives there. So if she calls them claiming you locked her out, you're shit out of luck. In these circumstances, it might be worth the risk. Can you begin accumulating evidence she did not live there as of yesterday? Call friends and family who can verify you lived alone or who can say where she lived. Instagrams of her taking pics of her place, Facebook posts where she indicates where she lives or implied is not with you. Like, yeah, can I come over? From a few days ago would be great. Once you're done with her, don't ever talk to her again. That's it. This is a new level of crazy and it's gonna burn everything it touches. OP quoting the first part, it's time to call in a friend, and says, I didn't tell my mum about any of this yet because she worries a lot about me and she already has a lot of issues going on, so I didn't want to put any more pressure on her. I think I have to call her now though. I know for sure she'll have my back on this. OP quoting Can you begin accumulating evidence and says, when I looked up her Instagram account, I found lots of pictures in Arizona. That she was dumb enough to have them tagged with location. The pictures were taken within the past month. I took screenshots as well as archiving them like a web version. I also wrote down a transcript of how the conversation went down when she called me asking to stay at my place and I refused. I've screenshotted the conversation with a friend as well. The commenter says, why didn't you follow the advice in the previous post and pursue a restraining order? OP says, I should have done this, but I didn't. Someone mentioned that I should try and contact one of her friends or family and let them try to talk to her, and so that's what I did. I'm hoping it works. If not, I'll go file the restraining order. OP comes in what was titled their final update and says, first of all, I want to explain what happened. Apologize and thank all of you. Long story short, as soon as her boyfriend came in, she started crying hysterically. I told them that I'm video recording them through my phone, but they seemed uninterested in what I said. She started blaming him for all sorts of stuff. He kept apologizing a lot, and after what seemed like an eternity, she packed her stuff and they were both gone. Now, I've written down on a piece of paper all your different advice. I'll file a restraining order against her. I'll also go file a police report and talk to the sheriff explaining everything that happened. I've documented all I could. Have screenshots of her Instagram account with the pictures tagged to Arizona, plus the video of her and her boyfriend arguing in my house and then packing and leaving together. My mum's main concern right now is getting the protective order ASAP and installing an alarm system in my house. She said she'll be staying with me until we can get a company to install an alarm system on Monday. Thank you guys for suggesting to call my mum. It made me feel safer while she was here. Apology. I know how annoying it was for you guys to keep giving me advice that I should file the restraining order and go to the police, only to find me not doing any of them but invite a stranger to my house. My mum also pointed out how badly this could have gone with her boyfriend coming here. A commenter called Give Her The Work says, I've been thinking about this since I read it. Honestly, I hope it's fake. If the cops showed up and this lunatic told them she was a tenant, why would OP not say something like, fine, prove to them you live here. Where's your lease? Where are your keys? Where do you sleep? Show them your license with this address. Show them a piece of your mail addressed here. OP said, I wish you were there with me, man, and pointed those things out. It just took me off guard. I just stood there saying nothing. Anyway, I'm so lucky it didn't go worse. I'm just really relieved this whole thing is off my chest now. I'm truly thankful for each one of you. I'm just incredibly glad that things worked out well for OP in the end, and taking the advice of mum and having mum move in for a little bit where you get cameras and a restraining order of some sort is absolutely the right way to go about things, because you don't want this kind of crazy near you again. My bloody word, that is absolutely wild. They could just move in like that and they just believe that. I find that madness. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Alarmed Sorbet 8101 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit. And it says, Am I the Arsehole Here for not giving my girlfriend my SSN so she can run a background check on me? I, 27 male, have been in a relationship with my girlfriend, 31 female, for almost a year now. This evening she sat me down, said she needs to have a serious conversation with me, and she asked my social security number. I said, absolutely not. Why would you need that? And she told me about her ex-boyfriend that was basically living a double life. He had a bunch of criminal charges in his past that he'd never told her about, and eventually exposed her to some sketchy and dangerous behavior before she broke things off after he cheated. I said, okay, thank you for telling me that, but what does that have to do with my social security number? She said ever since she's had a friend that works for the federal government run background checks on people to make sure they are safe. And because our relationship is progressing, she needs to know I'm a safe partner for her. So she wants my SSN to check my criminal history. Now, for the record, I don't even have a parking ticket. I'm a nerd and a gym rat, and all I do is go to school, play Dungeons and Dragons, come home, watch anime, rinse and repeat. So I don't care about a background check. She won't find anything, but I'm not giving out my SSN. I don't feel comfortable enough providing that to a friend. When I said that, she got upset and said I don't understand what women go through, and it's about safety. And I admitted she's right. I have no idea what women go through, but that doesn't mean I'm giving my SSN out to a complete stranger. She says he isn't a stranger, he's one of her best friends and married to a close friend of hers. And I said, honey, that's great, but I don't know him. I don't trust him because I don't know him. That's my information you're asking for. You can trust him with your personal information if you want, but no one I don't know is getting my SSN or critical details. It's just not happening. And she said that our relationship isn't going to be able to progress unless I give him my SSN because she needs to know that she's safe. And she's offended that I don't trust her taste in friends. I got up and left at that point and told her I respect her concerns, but her past trauma doesn't give her the right to try and strong-arm me into giving out sensitive information to someone I don't know just because he works for the federal government and has access to a database. I used to work for the federal government, so I can say from experience, everyone working there isn't some wonderful person. I'm not assuming he's a monster or anything, but just working for the feds doesn't prove anything to me. She called me insensitive and hasn't spoken to me since. Personally, I feel like she was gaslighting me into giving her what she wants, but I'm not sure. The part where she got offended because you don't trust her friends, well, also asking to do a background check on you. The absolute irony, right? And apparently this guy using federal databases to check on your details, that doesn't sound legal to me. And I get, her trauma from her ex is absolutely real and valid, of course, because it must be horrible to date someone that's got like a secret criminal past and turned out to be dangerous. Absolutely terrifying, right? But the solution isn't everyone I date must submit to my friend's unauthorized use of federal databases. That's absolutely wild. And you're just being sensible about protecting your own identity. Giving that information over to someone who could potentially steal it with the information you give them is mad. But a commenter says to OP, not the arsehole, sketchy as fuck. Is this relationship progress about moving in together or intimacy? It's kind of giving me long distance vibes along with scam. Trust your gut. OP says yeah, it's about moving in together. She's talking about wanting to take the next step in our relationship, which I was cool with until this. A commenter who was downvoted, by the way, said not the arsehole, but neither is she. I'd recommend a background check and a credit report before a relationship reaches the point where you are sharing a home and commingling finances. Perhaps you can agree on a third-party service where you can provide the details and she can see the results, and you should do the same for her. OP responds saying, after reading the comments here, I have to disagree. I don't have a problem with a background check, but demanding my SSN being given to a complete stranger is beyond the pale. She's demanding that I put my private information at risk to alleviate her concerns, as if my concerns about what could happen if someone that shouldn't have it got a hold of my SSN, as her concerns are that I'm a bad actor. Commenter responds saying, I'm specifically saying do not give her or a friend your SSN. Find an online background check service and you fill out the information yourself. Then do a background check on her. Then do credit reports. Sit and do this together. If you're in a serious relationship, you are and will be taking much more serious risks. What if she gets pregnant? How big are the student loans / car loans or whatever that you're taking responsibility for? Does she have a criminal background that will affect her employability in the future? She has a fair and legitimate concerns, and so should you. The method she's suggesting to resolve it is just wrong. Another commenter says, not the arsehole. I just had a background check completed. I had them every 5-ish years for the last 20 because I volunteer with children. Some in state, some federal. I also have been screened by the government for a permit several times. I've never had to provide a SSN. Sadly, I think your girlfriend may be the criminal and you may be her long con mark. Commenter responds to that saying, that's what I'm saying. You don't need the SSN to run a good background check these days. Everything is there online. Jail records and court documents are free. All you need is the city, name, and date of birth to find everyone's criminal history with pictures to prove it is really them. Commenter says her government friend is committing a felony. Not the arsehole. You want no part of this. Commenter responds to that comment saying, right, I should trust my SSN with someone who commits felonies by abusing their federal access to records. Nope, not the arsehole. And a commenter replied to that comment saying, if you can get the full name of the friend that works for the federal government and the agency they work for. Once you know what agency he works for, contact their inspector general about how your girlfriend wants you to send this person your SSN so they can run an unauthorized background check on you using their access to government systems. This is not something they will take lightly and will probably spur an investigation. This person does not deserve to work for the federal government. r/Fed News may have some additional advice if you want to ask there as well. Also, you've been dating for a year. If she hasn't figured out whether you're a good person or not, maybe it's time to find someone else. Commenter says, "Hey, female here," with a hand waving emoji, and then says, "Run." So OP comes in with an update and says, "After reading the comments I've been getting over the last few days, I decided to call her on New Year's Eve and give things one last chance. Because I'm the type of person that needs to know I did everything I could before I walk away from a relationship. And some people said she has valid concerns. She just went about them the wrong way, which made sense. I told her I understand and respect your needs to ensure your safety, but I'm not willing to potentially compromise my safety to make you feel safe by handing over my SSN to someone I don't know and don't trust, and it's illegal for him to even use a federal database for personal reasons. So that's out, but what I will do is pay for a background check of your choosing, so as long as it's legitimate service, and give you the details. I will not be providing my social security number to anyone, but my address, date of birth, etc. are all fair game." She refused and said that she has chosen a background check, and that's having her friend do it because she knows that she can trust him. So I said if that's how you feel and you won't budge, then the issue here is trust, and I'm not willing to stay in a relationship with a woman that doesn't trust me because of some shit that doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm not paying for another man's sins, and I'm not giving you my social security number because your ex was a criminal. She started crying and asking why I can't understand that it's not about me, it's about her. I said you made it about me when you asked for my SSN. She got pissed and started accusing me of lying about caring about her safety and saying if I really cared then I'd have no problem doing this because I don't understand how vulnerable women are in society. So I said I was willing to work with you up to a reasonable point, but now you're just trying to manipulate me. I don't feel safe being with you anymore. Because if this is how you react when you don't get your way about having my SSN, what happens the next time we have a major disagreement or a serious situation come up? Are you going to keep crying to try and get your way, or throw out another ultimatum to try and force me into doing what you want? She started saying that as a man I can't understand what it's like to go through life as a woman and have to be afraid, and this is what she has to do for her safety and security, and I need to just respect that and give her what she needs for her comfort. I was like, I tried to compromise. You wouldn't accept it. There's nothing more to say here. And to be clear, I wasn't exactly calm. I have severe anxiety, so this was a really hard conversation for me to have. I was actively pacing around my house and sweating and forcing words out the entire time. Then she started crying and asking about New Year's because we were supposed to spend it with her parents. I said you should have thought about that before you tried to strong-arm me into getting your way. This isn't a everyone stood up and applaud moment. That's just how things went. I hung up and now we're over. Obviously, I'm hurt, but I'm realizing I dodged a bullet because there's no reason shit should have gotten this fucking messy. And before anyone tries to jump me in the comments again, I offered to pay for the check. She refused because it wasn't the test she wanted. I feel like I made a good faith effort to resolve things. Hate to ring in the new year without a kiss under the mistletoe, but it is what it is. I don't know if she really is that concerned I'm some lunatic criminal, or if she's trying to scam me like a lot of you said. Either way, it's over now. Commenter said to OP, if you know which friend she was going to have run the background check, report him to his employer because he's 100% going to get investigated and likely fired for misusing personal information. Commenter responds saying there's no friend. She's going to take out a loan in his name and/or get some credit cards to max out. She was trying to scam him. A commenter who was downvoted says, I don't understand why you engaged so much. It's like you wanted a fight out of this. Then you accused her of being manipulative. If you don't want to do it, just say no and take the consequences. Don't get up in her face about it, especially since she's seemingly been through some shit already. You just reinforced her being afraid of men. Everyone sucks here. She should have taken your compromise, but you went over the top trying to prove yourself right. You both sound insufferable. Edit, I struck a nerve with this one. OP responded saying, respectfully, Have someone that you love, that claims they love you, get in your face and start screaming at you, comparing you to an abuser and blatantly gaslighting you, and then see how you feel about it. No, I wasn't just going to take that lying down, and if me standing up for myself reinforced her being afraid of men, she doesn't need to be in a relationship. She needs mental health assistance, and I hope she gets it so she can eventually be a healthy person. Not for a future partner, but herself. And a lot of people talking about the friend and the illegal stuff behind that, and many people saying, she was just out to scam him. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story is going to come from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. No update as yet. It's one of the top ones currently in that subreddit from Interesting Star 4842 that asks, am I the arsehole for kicking my mentally ill brother out of my house when he was treating my wife like garbage? So, I'm 34 male. I'm married and own a home with my wife, 26 female, in Los Angeles. My younger brother is 32 male and he has never lived on his own. Lived with my dad until around 24. He then moved into his girlfriend's parents' house until he was like 28 maybe. They broke up, so my dad gifted him a condo that was above his business. He got a ton of free passes with my dad. He trashed the condo, didn't take care of anything, and my dad finally decided to retire and sell it because he couldn't take it anymore. My brother is also on his third car, all bought by our grandfather. About 3 to 4 months ago, when he got kicked out, he came to our door begging, and I knew exactly how it was going to go. I told him he had 1 month to get his shit together, and kept caving. My wife is an actress, and she only books about once every 6 months. She does auditions and classes daily for an hour or two. She mostly does housewife stuff. I told him right off the bat that she was not doing any of it for him. I don't care if he's working 5 jobs, he's doing his own laundry, cleaning, and cooking. Of course, he left messes. Threw his laundry on the floor, made the argument that he's working full time and she's not. I was like, this is her home. And when I told him he'd have to pay bills 2 months in, he got mad and said she does not pay bills. She is my wife and takes care of our home. Anytime I told him to stop making extra work for her, he would say, she's a housewife, she's doing it for you, so I don't understand why she can't for me. He even asked why I get to have my laundry done and meals cooked for me, but he can't and works as much as me. It drove me crazy. He also would make noises while my wife was in auditions, which was frustrating for her. Not even accidental, like screaming watching a sports game 5 seconds after we told him she was going on Zoom. This was one of my breaking points. She had dedicated her whole life to this, since she was like 9. When I started making good money, the first thing I was excited about was that she could focus on her dreams. She finally got a good agent. Her auditions she gets are huge and she's on cloud 9. As soon as he started doing this, I noticed she was getting stressed. One of the main issues is he works nights. He was there all day while I was at work, and if she asked him to be quiet, he did not care. He said he didn't consider it a career and he didn't think she'd make it, so he didn't feel the need to care. As if her making it or not changed anything about it being her home and her dreams. If I was home and told him to shut up, he would. However, during the day, he did not listen to her and made her cry. That was the day I told him to get out. He's had enough free passes, it's time to grow up. My other brothers got mad and said I'm heartless because he's struggling mentally. But the guy has been struggling mentally since he was 16 and has never attempted therapy, meds, anything. He just cries and relies on everyone to do everything. You know what I'm going to say when I'm talking about the other brothers right straight away. If they're so mad, they can let him move in, right? And it just sounds like he's had everything handed to him his entire adult life and somehow is still managing to mess this all up. And, there's talk of mental health within this situation, but there's also a lot of entitlement at the same time as well. Struggling mentally doesn't give you a free pass to treat people like shit. It doesn't mean you get to make your sister-in-law cry in her own home while messing with her career and playing it down and making her feel like shit. It sounds like you've given him multiple months, clear boundaries, and chance after chance, and he stomped on every single one and rude and entitled all the way through. I think the only way you're going to be the arsehole in this situation is because you've let this drag on for so long while your wife has been suffering because of it. And Lord Buff comes in saying pretty much exactly that. I think you're the arsehole to your wife. He sounds like you knew exactly what was going to happen. You told your brother at the start he had a month. You laid down the rules and let him break them all. You let him stay longer, and it took him making her cry for you to finally kick him out. Lemon Icing says mostly you're the arsehole because you let him move in. Then when it got worse, you waited months before kicking him out. She got an agent. For fuck's sake, what an accomplishment. He actively sabotaged your wife's auditions. Your wife suffered due to your procrastination with mishandling your brother. AP replies saying, I agree. I have tons of regrets. I thought maybe it was my chance to help him down a better path, and I should have kicked him out sooner. Fantastic reply saying, it's so hard to cut off family when you hope they might finally turn around. When mental illness takes over, it's often after great memories were made in childhood and it's complicated. I hope things work out for you and your wife and for her professionally. Ideally, your brother chooses to get the help he needs. In my opinion, not the arsehole. Your brother needs an inpatient mental health rehabilitation. Hopefully, he'd go voluntarily. Lemon replies saying, if one of her family members banged on your office window every time you had a meeting, would you just put up with it? I'm going to guess no. You would have gotten upset and tried to set boundaries. Would you have tolerated it like she did for weeks, months? I hope you're doing something truly special for your long-suffering and patient wife. New microphone, better camera, backdrop, lights, sound baffling. Anything to show support and celebrate the new level she's attained despite the roadblocks. Tell her break a leg from an internet stranger. I began in the performing arts and I'm cheering for her. Koi Fishy says not the arsehole. Mental health issues are an explanation, not an excuse. Sounds like your brother's issue isn't mental health so much as being an arsehole who also happens to have mental health struggles. Does he have a legit diagnosis? No diagnosis, no treatment, no therapy? That's a no-go. Opie says no diagnosis. For years he has threatened our family / his ex with suicide if they didn't help him. After I kicked him out, he texted my wife saying he was going to drive off of a cliff. That's how he kept his ex around for years. Every time she tried to leave, he threatened to end his life. I didn't know about him doing that to her at the time, or I would have stepped in. But as soon as I saw the text, I was done with him completely. Not only is he kicked out, he is blocked. I know he'd text her instead of me because she's my weakness, and he assumed if he upset her enough, I'd tell him to come back. I even offered to pay for his therapy while he was staying with us, and he got mad. And one more comment from Asleep who says not the arsehole. He is not struggling mentally. He targeted specific times of the day to create problems and make things hard for her. It seems that he is mentally with it to find the most effective times and behaviors. Just because he is inconsiderate does not make him mentally struggling, just outright mean. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.